The Indian elections are entering the home stretch. It's the sixth and penultimate phase of the Lok Sabha elections. A total of 59 constituencies across 7 states have gone to the polls in this phase. The BJP, keep in mind, had won 44 of these 59 seats in the last elections of 2014. The principal challenger, the Congress party, had been decimated, winning just 2 seats. A total of 979 candidates are in the fray for the 6th phase. The seats distributed over the states of Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, Haryana, Bihar, West Bengal and the National Capital Region of Delhi, which is seeing a triangular contest between the BJP, the Congress party and the ruling party in the territory, the Aam Aadmi Party or AAP. The state of West Bengal is delicately poised with Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool Congress in a direct fight with the BJP, which is hoping to cash in on the mega rallies addressed by the Prime Minister in the last week. The Trinamool Congress had won all seats going to the polls in the last elections of 2014. Over 10 crore voters, or 100 million, were eligible to exercise their franchise in this round. Over 113,000 polling booths have been set up just for this phase of the elections. The overall voting percentage in this phase, the official voting percentage at 5 p.m., until 5 p.m. that number is 50.74%. It's the overall average voter turnout in the 6th phase of the Indian elections. And now we have Professor Makarand R, Paranjape, Director of Indian Institute of Advanced Study, joining us live here in our studios at WION. Professor Paranjape, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us, as always, for here with us on WION World is One. Look at that number, 50.74%. That's the overall voting percentage. What does that tell you?
Well, it's very good to be here, Krishna, and I'm happy to have voted myself. I came down from Shimla for this.
Wonderful.
But I agree with you. There's a bit of a lull, if not fatigue, in this, 6th phase, almost coming to the end of the election season, penultimate phase of voting. And there can be a couple of reasons for it. As you said, anti-incumbency or pro-incumbency. We don't know how it's going to pan out. But I think that the big issue here is the difference between West Bengal and the rest.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to understand what's happening there. There you see a head-on-head clash between Modi and Mamata. And this is only going to benefit the BJP, as I see it. Because even if, paradoxically, Mamata Banerjee's stature is sort of increasing as a national leader or a leader of consequence outside of Bengal, it really means that perhaps they're going to lose seats. Whereas in Delhi, where we began with Delhi this morning, actually there's a sense of a blasé, business as usual, because there is a 3-cornered contest here. And
but the voting has been poor.
Poor because I think people have lost interest. I think the reason is that because of this 3-cornered contest, there's not enough traction, there's not enough excitement. What I find is that as we go into the last phases of election, unless there's something sensational or exciting for the voters, they're not sort of really impelled to come out in the heat set in, because Aam Aadmi Party I don't think has as much voter sympathy, except among certain groups where they've really ended up doing work for education, water, sanitation. Among the other classes, like I went to South Delhi and I see that there's a big caste factor there, Jat, Gujjar, and Raghav Chadha, he's a Punjabi. And among these 2 candidates, we have a 3-time MP, Mr. Ramesh Bidudi. So what I'm saying is Delhi generally has had a low turnout, like South Bombay, among the more privileged. And I'm not sure it's going to be bellwether. And I'm also not sure that all 7 seats will go the BJP way this time.
Yeah.
But at least 5 of 7 they're going to get, I think. And the rest, it's a bit of a puzzle because, as I said, in a 3-cornered contest with heavyweights like Sheila Dikshit and others, you don't know which way it'll turn, because who's going to cut into whose votes? I think that is up in the air.
That you can, in fact, say, Professor Paranjape, for the entire elections, actually, this time around, because that's how it looks. I mean, look at, for instance, a state like Tamil Nadu. There is no big faces. You don't know which way it's going to go. They say Kamal Hassan could be splitting the votes between the ADMK and DMK. We don't know. But right now, we're talking about phase 6, and you did talk about West Bengal, and I really wanted to ask you something about West Bengal. We witnessed polling day violence again in the state of West Bengal. This is becoming a habit for the state of West Bengal, and strangely, a fellow similar state like Kerala has not witnessed as much poll violence as West Bengal.
See, I'm going to take a contrarian view on this. I don't think the violence is as much as it seems on the media.
Okay.
I know, sadly, really regretfully, a couple of people died, and you can't excuse that sort of thing. But somebody's glass is broken, someone gets pushed around a bit. It's not really like a conflagration. Okay. I think democracy is still working. But again, just see the way it is dramatized. It's a violence which is being played out in front of the cameras.
Yes.
It's actually a theatre. It's a theatrics of Indian election. And I think this is sending a message that the BJP is under attack. And this is going to translate into voter support and sympathy for the BJP. So I think that I'm not saying the violence is orchestrated, not at all, but it is theatricized.
It could just end up helping the BJP eventually.
It will.
Okay.
I think it has been dramatized and theatricalized in such a way that also it's made it exciting. That's why you've got such a high turnout.
Yes.
Because there's so much
71% in West Bengal.
71%.
What is actually pulling the overall average down is possibly Delhi constituencies that's actually pulling. Because if you see, Jharkhand is close to a 60% vote. West Bengal is about 70%. And that brings us back
UP is also very low, Krishna. 45% as of 5 o'clock.
True.
So UP also, there's a lot of confusion. I think voters are confused because, as I see it, the so-called Mahagathbandhan, I think most voters are smart enough to know that 3 years down the line, it's impossible for Maya and, Akhilesh
to fight the elections together.
Because they are the biggest rivals in Uttar Pradesh. So they see the expediency, the opportunism of this alliance. And yet, there's voter loyalty. I'm not sure how many voters will transfer their votes, but I think the BSP has a very loyal voter base, and so does, Mulayam and Akhilesh.
And therein lies the question, are they willing to vote differently for the state elections vis-a-vis the central elections? Is that their mind made up? Because we've seen other states and the people of other states of India having their mind made up as to what they want when it comes to the state and what they want when it comes to the center. And that's the question that's hanging over UP in this elections, isn't it?
No, I agree, but I beg to differ slightly. I think I completely agree that people vote differently locally or for the state and for the national elections. I completely agree with that. But I think in UP, it doesn't seem as if there will be a clean sweep for the BJP as it was last time. I think the number of seats they're going to get will be less, and partly the reason for it is all these local permutations and combinations, especially a much stronger Congress. Don't forget the Congress got only 2 seats in this
They're
phase.
going to certainly improve on that tally this time around.
See, 44 out of 59 for the BJP last time in this phase, which is 3/4, almost 3/4. I think 44 may come down a bit. And certainly the Congress will improve.
Get into double digits, roughly.
If not double, they'll certainly double from 2 to 4, 6, 8, or maybe 11.
Well, that's not saying much for the Congress in this phase of the elections, at least. But I'm afraid it's good chatting with you, Professor Paranjape, as always. But there are so many questions hanging because there is only one phase of the elections left. I'm going to ask you one final question before we end this particular conversation. How do you think things shape up leading into just one more phase of the elections left?
Exactly. I think when we started out, there were different predictions. There was a range. One range was that BJP will get, BJP NDA, I'm putting a dash between the two, will end up getting about 200 seats. Now there are people who even predict they'll get more than 300. So you see how the momentum is shifted. And my own, so to speak, prediction, one shouldn't predict these things, but I'm not afraid to make a prediction because even if we are wrong, I'll be in good company. I think we are
You'll be in the majority company for sure.
Exactly. I think we're talking about at least 263 or thereabouts. So the momentum is shifted, and I think the BJP, without having a wave, has a groundswell. And I think Prime Minister Modi has shown himself to be way ahead of all competition. He's a national leader who inspires both confidence and loyalty in the voters. And as you said, when it comes to a general election, people look for a stable government at the center. And yet, I must also give credit to the opposition, especially the Congress. They've come out stronger than the last time, stronger than 2014. And I think they will increase their performance. And in this last couple of phases, I think Rahul Gandhi has almost started looking like a statesman. He's making gestures of love and affection and compassion and solidarity.
And that's saying a lot, coming from the way he was spoken about election time last election.
Exactly. He was so immature. From there
to this,
there's a slight shift. And I think the Priyanka factor, unfortunately, hasn't worked in favor of the Congress as much as it might have. But I think that the family is still very strong, very much at the helm of affairs as far as the Congress is concerned, and they may improve their standing.
Absolutely. Professor Paranjape, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on this edition of the news. We will continue to track and chat as we get in more numbers. The final...